My husband disappeared the same day my sister finally posted her mystery man. It was payday, and around here, payday has a feeling. The phone buzzes with salary alerts, the supermarket parking lot fills up a little faster, people throw a pack of brand-name cookies into their cart instead of the cheap ones. In our house, payday meant something simple. David would call on his way home and ask, "What you want, babe? Chicken or Chinese?" Then he'd walk in with some greasy paper bag and a tired smile, and we'd eat on the couch with our shoes off. That Friday, the call never came. The food never came. My husband never came. I sat on our sagging brown couch with the TV on low, pretending to watch a show I'd already seen a dozen times. The stew I'd made, just in case he comes straight home for once, bubbled on the stove, filling the little apartment with the smell of onions and thyme. The wall clock ticked louder than usual, each second landing heavy in the quiet. At 6:00 p.m. I checked my phone. Nothing. At 7:30 I sent a message. "Everything okay? You running late?" No reply. By 9:00, his phone started going straight to voicemail. My mind did what minds do. I made excuses for him. Maybe his battery died. Maybe there was overtime. Maybe there was an accident on the highway. Somewhere around 11:30, just when my worry was starting to turn into a knot in my stomach, my phone buzzed. Not a call. A notification. Tasha just posted for the first time in weeks. Tasha, my little sister. The same sister who'd been teasing the whole family group chat for months about a mystery man we hadn't met yet. The same sister who 3 months ago swore she was done with men and focusing on herself. I don't even know why I tapped it. Habit, maybe. Curiosity. Or maybe God was tired of watching me sit in the dark. The picture loaded slowly. Our Wi-Fi acts like it's tired by midnight. First, I saw the warm glow of a candle on a restaurant table. Then my sister leaned in slightly, wearing a red dress I'd never seen before. She was smiling, full and wide, the way she only smiled when she thought she'd won something. Opposite her, only a man's arm and hand were in the frame. His face was cut off by the top of the picture. Just his hand over hers on the table, fingers relaxed but claiming. My heart stumbled. I knew that hand. Dark brown, a small scar near the thumb from when he'd cut himself opening a can. Short, neat nails. And on the wrist, the watch, black leather band, silver face, a tiny scratch right at the top. The same watch I had saved for weeks to buy David on his birthday. The one he wore every day like it was a part of him. I zoomed in until the pixels blurred. There was no mistaking it. My sister's caption sat underneath. Finally found someone who treats me right. My piece, my mystery man. For a moment, all the sound in the room disappeared. No TV, no ticking clock, just the rush of blood in my ears. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared at that hand on the screen until my phone dimmed and my own reflection floated over their picture. Then I clicked it awake again and stared some more. But to understand why that picture cracked me open the way it did, you'd have to understand the life that came before it. I'm Mariah, 42 years old, office manager at a small clinic where everybody thinks I know everything, where the files are, where the bandages are, which doctor is secretly scared of needles. At home, it hadn't been much different. I was the one who remembered when rent was due, when car insurance would hit, when Aunt Brenda's birthday was coming up. David and I had been married 10 years. We met at a friend's barbecue when I was 32 and had almost made peace with the idea that marriage might not happen for me. He was funny without trying too hard, the kind of man who could start a conversation with a wall. He worked as a supervisor at a warehouse across town. Not glamorous, but steady. We didn't have children, not for lack of wanting. Life just didn't go that way. A couple of painful attempts, endless questions from well-meaning church ladies, and then a quiet, aching acceptance. It was just us. And Tasha. Tasha is 8 years younger than me. When Mama got sick, I was 24 and Tasha was still in high school. Mama passed with more bills than money and a girl who still needed raising. So I stepped in. I became half-sister, half-mother, doing school forms, braiding hair, arguing about curfews. Tasha grew up loud and bright, always the center of attention. Men had been drifting in and out of her life since she was old enough to wear lipstick. Beautiful, but restless. Every few months there was a new love of my life, followed by a new heartbreak and a new reason she couldn't pay her rent on time. When David came into my life, she loved him instantly. "Finally, a man with sense," she'd say, kicking her feet up on our coffee table. "You're good for my sister. She used to be so stiff." He'd laugh and call her Lil Sis, bring her leftovers when she visited, listen to her dramatic stories about work and boyfriends. Sometimes on Sundays, they'd both be on the couch, arguing over a game, and I'd be in the kitchen, smiling to myself. I thought, this is what family is supposed to feel like. Money was always a little tight, but we made it work. My salary went into our joint account, from which I paid most of the bills. His salary went into his own account first, then he'd transfer me what we agreed on for rent and utilities. He used to joke, "You the CFO of this operation, baby. I just clock in." The first real shift started small. One Thursday night, a few months before that awful payday, I was at the kitchen table with my laptop open, paying bills. The overhead light buzzed softly, and the smell of fried onions lingered in the air. My phone pinged. "Deposit received, $2,102.88. My salary. A few minutes later, another ping. "ATM withdrawal, $600, David Sanders." I frowned. The timing was tight, even for him. I called out to the living room where he was half watching a game, half scrolling through his phone. "Babe, you just took out $600 in cash." He didn't look up right away. "Yeah," he said after a beat. "Just helping out a friend. He's in a bind. I'll put it back next week." "What friend?" I asked. Not accusing, just surprised. That was a lot of cash for a friend. "You don't know him," David replied, eyes still on the TV. "Guy from work. Look, it's handled, babe. Don't start doing a whole audit on me." He said it with a half grin, like he was joking, but there was an edge under it. I swallowed. "I'm not doing an audit," I said quietly. "I just like to know what's moving so I don't bounce any bills." He sighed, finally putting his phone down. "I work hard," he said. "If I want to help somebody, that's my business, as long as the lights stay on, right?" That night, they did, so I folded the unease up and tucked it in the back of my mind. Around that same time, Tasha started acting different too. Usually, if she went 2 days without calling me, she popped up with a dramatic voice note. "Sis, the world is full of clowns, I swear." But suddenly, my phone was quiet. She'd answer when I called, but she was always about to step out, always with someone. One Saturday, she came over while I was making jollof rice for Sunday dinner at Aunt Brenda's. She breezed into the kitchen smelling like some expensive perfume, nails fresh, hair freshly retwisted. Her phone kept lighting up on the table, and every time it did, she smiled down at it like it was a secret. "So," I said casually, stirring the pot, "you've been busy. Who is he?" She smirked. "Who said it's a he?" "Your edges ain't ever been this laid for your girls' nights," I replied. She burst out laughing. Okay, she confessed, leaning against the counter. "I might be talking to somebody, but I'm not jinxing it. This one, he's different, Mariah. He looks out for me, doesn't complain when I need help, shows up when he says he will." "Where'd you meet him?" I asked, heart genuinely happy for her. "Through a friend," she said quickly, waving the question away. "He works at a warehouse. Hustler, but not like the bums I used to date. He's a provider." Warehouse. The word flickered in my mind, bumping into the knowledge that David also worked, well, supervised, at a warehouse. But there are plenty of warehouses in the city, plenty of men. I pushed the thought aside as paranoid. "That's good, Tash," I said, giving her a side hug. "You deserve someone who shows up." I meant it. I just didn't imagine he'd be showing up in both of our lives at once. Still, little things started to stack up. The next payday, another large cash withdrawal from David's account within hours of the deposit. Tasha's nails always done, hair always new, clothes looking a little more expensive than her paycheck could stretch. Her late-night stories at a hotel bar on the same side of town as David's job. His sudden need to keep his phone face down. Each thing on its own could be explained, so I explained them to myself. Until that Friday night, when he vanished, and her mystery man appeared wearing my husband's watch. Part 2, Discovery and First Actions. Tilde 1000 words. When I tell you I stared at that picture so long my eyes hurt, I'm not exaggerating. My thumb hovered over the screen, zooming in and out on that watch like the angle might change the truth. It didn't. My first instinct was denial. Maybe it's a similar watch. Maybe she borrowed it from someone. Maybe. My mind was busy trying to protect my heart. Then my phone slipped a little in my hand, and the screen jumps back, and I caught the caption again. Finally found someone who treats me right. My peace, my mystery man. Peace, on the night my husband didn't come home. My hands started to shake. I didn't even realize I was crying until a drop hit the glass and blurred the picture for me. The first person I called was David. It rang once, then went straight to voicemail. The wireless customer you are calling is not available. I hung up before the message even finished. Tried again. Same thing. On the third try, I left a message, my voice small in the quiet room. David, it's me. It's almost midnight. I'm scared. Call me back, please. No answer. I wiped my face with the back of my hand and did what I almost never do. I called Tasha after midnight. The phone rang once. Declined. That stung more than I expected. I stared at her name, called again. This time it rang 3 times before she picked up. Hello. Her voice was too bright, the way people sound when they step out somewhere loud and don't want you to hear. Tasha, where are you? I asked. No hello. My throat was raw. Out, she said. I could hear music in the background, glasses clinking. What's wrong? You okay? I saw your post, I said. My voice shook in a way I hated. There was a tiny pause. The music got a little muffled, like she'd moved the phone closer to her body. And your mystery man has my husband's watch on, I whispered. She let out a short, breathy laugh that didn't match the tension in her voice. Girl, you know how many men got that same cheap watch? Don't start. It's not just the watch, I said, feeling my chest tighten. It's the hand, the scar, it looks exactly like. You overthinking again, she cut in, louder now. You always do this, Mariah. You read into everything. I'm fine. I'm with my man. You need to calm down. David hasn't come home, I blurted. His phone is off. He didn't call. It's payday and he's just gone. Can you at least tell me if you've seen him? Just tell me that much. She went quiet for a moment. In the background, someone said her name, laughing. Then she sighed. I haven't seen him, she said flatly. What would I be doing with your husband? That's nasty. Look, I'm not about to let you ruin my night with your drama. I'll call you tomorrow, okay? Tasha. Good night, Mariah. Love you. The line went dead. I stared at the phone in my hand for a long time. The word love felt heavy. People throw it around like seasoning, sprinkling it over anything, even lies. I didn't sleep much that night. I lay on our bed, facing the empty side where David usually slept, watching the red digits on the clock change. 1:27, 2:04, 3:15. Every car that passed outside made me sit up a little, listening, hopping to hear his key in the lock. Nothing. By sunrise, my eyes felt like sandpaper. I got up, made coffee I didn't want, and stood in the kitchen watching light slowly fill the alley outside our window. On autopilot, I checked my banking app. My stomach dropped. My salary was in our joint account, untouched. David's salary had hit his personal account the afternoon before, then 3 separate cash withdrawals, each a few hundred, one after the other, until almost nothing was left. The numbers blurred. Whatever he'd done, it wasn't an accident. It wasn't a flat tire or a dead battery. He had emptied his pockets on purpose and not brought a cent home. I called his job next. The receptionist at the warehouse knew me by name. Morning, it's Mariah, I said, trying to keep my tone light. Is David there? His phone's been acting up. "Hey, Ms. Mariah," she replied. I could hear typing. No, he called out yesterday, said he had a family emergency." Family emergency. I hung up without trusting myself to say goodbye. If the emergency was here, why didn't I know about it? By mid-morning, something in me hardened. Worry slid over into something else, a quiet, cold resolve. On my way to the grocery store, I took a small detour. Tasha lives in an apartment complex off Maple. I know the route by heart. I've driven there countless times with bags of groceries, picking her up when her car acted up, bringing her soup when she was sick. I told myself I was just passing by, but my hands turned the wheel before my mind found a better excuse. The lot was half full. Kids' bikes leaned on railings, somebody's laundry hung from a balcony. I spotted Tasha's blue Honda first, parked crooked like it always was. Next to it sat a silver sedan with a dent on the back bumper. David's car. I stopped the car a few spaces away and just watched. The silver sedan looked like it always did, ordinary, a little dusty. Seeing it there, in her lot instead of ours, hit me harder than any bank alert. So this is the family emergency. Asterisk, I thought. I didn't get out, I didn't bang on doors. The old me might have, but something told me, not yet. You need your mind clear when you talk. I drove home on shaky legs, went straight to our bedroom, and pulled open his side of the closet. Half his shirts were gone. The red hoodie he always wore on lazy Sundays, gone. One of the suitcases from the top shelf, gone. His cologne still sat on the dresser. His Bible was still on the nightstand, open to a psalm we'd read together months ago. The little metal box where he kept old pay stubs and important papers. Empty. He hadn't left in a panic. He'd packed. I sat on the edge of the bed and let the reality settle over me like a heavy blanket. My husband had taken his clothes and his paycheck and gone to my sister's place on payday. My sister had posted a picture with his watch and a caption about peace. And both of them had looked me in the face, week after week, like nothing was wrong. The hurt was deep, but beneath it, something else started to grow. Not revenge, not yet. Clarity. I realized then I couldn't control what they did, but I could control how I responded. I wasn't about to turn myself into a meme yelling in a parking lot, giving them an easy excuse to call me crazy. If they wanted to build a life on lies, fine. I was going to drag the truth into the light, slowly, calmly, in front of the people who mattered. So the next call I made wasn't to them. It was to my cousin Keisha. Keisha and I grew up like sisters. If Tasha is my soft spot, Keisha is my loud backup. She answered on the second ring. "What's up, cuz? You good?" "No," I said. My voice broke on that one word. Her tone changed instantly. "Were you at home?" "Yes." "I'll be there in 15, she said. "Don't move." 20 minutes later, she walked into my kitchen in leggings and a headscarf, eyes already scanning my face. "Okay," she said, dropping her bag on a chair. "Who do I have to fight? Don't lie." I almost laughed. It came out as a choked sound. I sat her down and told her everything. The withdrawals, the watch, the picture, the car. By the time I finished, her mouth was hanging open. "Those two are asterisk, bold asterisk," she said finally, shaking her head. "And stupid. You want to roll up to that apartment right now? Because I know how to make a scene." I shook my head. "No, that's what they expect. That's what they'll tell people. Mariah always overreacts. I want them to be the ones squirming, not me." Keisha leaned back, narrowing her eyes. "So what you thinking?" "Aunt Brenda," I said. "Sunday dinner. Everybody's always there. Tasha's been hinting she wants to introduce her mystery man to the family. Let her bring him on in." Keisha's eyes widened, then a slow smile spread across her face. "Oh, you cold," she said. "I like it." "It's not about embarrassing them," I said quietly. "It's about me not carrying their secret alone. If they're proud enough to do it, they should be able to stand in it." For the first time in 2 days, I slept. Not well, not long. But when I closed my eyes, there was a plan forming beside the pain. On Saturday, I pulled out what little evidence I had: screenshots of Tasha's post and old stories, my bank statements showing transfers to her account, a picture I'd taken from the car of David's sedan parked beside her Honda. I printed them and slipped them into a plain envelope. It felt less like preparing for war and more like packing an umbrella when you see dark clouds. My mother-in-law threw a party to celebrate my divorce before the judge had even touched our paperwork. She booked a hall, ordered a cake, and told the whole family to wear white for a fresh start. On the invitation, under my husband's smiling picture, she'd written, "Free at last." The only problem was, legally, I was still his wife. And I didn't walk into that party crying. I walked in holding my lawyer's arm. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Renee. I'm 38 years old, and for 10 years I tried to be the kind of wife my mother-in-law, Gloria, liked to brag about in church. I cooked. I worked. I made sure my husband, Andre, had clean socks and ironed shirts and something warm in his stomach, even on the days I wanted to crawl into bed and disappear. We lived, in a modest 3-bedroom house on the east side of town. The kind of place with creaky floorboards and a small porch out front where we used to sit on summer evenings, passing a bowl of grapes back and forth, talking about one-day dreams. "One day we'll fix that fence," Andre would say. "One day we'll turn that back room into a nursery," I would add, tracing circles on my mug. Some days, one day felt close enough to touch. Other days, it felt like a story we told ourselves to go to sleep. We never had children, not because we didn't try, God knows we did, but because life had other plans. 2 miscarriages, an ectopic pregnancy, a whole lot of quiet tears in bathrooms. Somewhere along the line, our grief turned into a space between us we didn't always know how to cross. Gloria, my mother-in-law, never forgave my body for that. When I first met her, she hugged me so tight I almost couldn't breathe. "Thank you for loving my baby," she said. Andre was 30 then. My baby was 6 feet tall with a beard, but in her eyes he was still the boy who used to sleep with his shoes on in case of fire. Gloria is one of those women who look smaller than their presence. 5'2", gray streaks in her hair she refuses to dye, always smelling faintly of white diamonds, perfume, and lemon furniture polish. She runs her house like a ship, everything shining, everyone in line. She liked me in the beginning. I had a good job as a nurse. I didn't have any kids from before. And I said, "Yes, ma'am," and "No, ma'am," without thinking about it. "Finally, a woman with sense," she'd say, patting my hand. "Not like these little girls out here." But as the years went by and no baby came, that praise turned into small, sharp comments. "You know, I had Andre when I was 20, she'd say, watching me wash dishes. "I just had to look at his father and I was pregnant." Or, "Have you tried those teas my neighbor sent on Facebook? Her cousin's friend used them and now she got twins." She always said it in that sweet, church lady voice that lets people pretend they're not being cruel. Andre would tell me, "That's just how she talks, baby. Don't let it get to you." But he never actually told her to stop. That was our pattern. Gloria would overstep, I would swallow it. Andre would stay in the middle, hands up, saying, "Y'all know how she is." On the outside, though, we looked fine. Andre worked at a car dealership as a salesman. I worked 3 12-hour shifts a week at the hospital. We shared bills, shared chores, shared a queen-sized bed that felt too big and too small at the same time. Our routine was simple. On my work days, I was up before dawn, moving quietly so I wouldn't wake him. On my days off, I'd make breakfast, scrambled eggs, toast, sometimes pancakes if I felt like spoiling him. Andre would come in from a morning run, sweating, kiss my cheek, and say, "Smells good, Mrs. Bennett." It was the little things like that that kept me going. Gloria lived 10 minutes away, close enough to drop by, and she did, a lot. Sunday dinners at her house, Wednesday check-ins at ours, phone calls at all hours, usually starting with, "What y'all doing?" and ending with, "Put my son on the line." Sometimes it was comforting, having family clothes. Other times, it felt like we had a third person in our marriage we hadn't really invited. Looking back, the cracks were there. They always are if you're honest. Andre started staying late at work more often. "Somebody's gotta close," he'd say, sliding his tie off in the hallway. I noticed months when the commission checks didn't quite match the hours he claimed. I noticed Gloria's comments changing from "my son is so blessed to have you" to "don't work him too hard with that budget of yours." Still, I kept my head down, kept paying the mortgage, kept trying to be easy to live with. The first real clue that something was shifting came on a Wednesday afternoon. Gloria had called that morning. "You home today?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am," I said, folding laundry on the bed. "I'm off, why?" "I baked too much cornbread," she said. "I'll drop some off later." By later, she meant 5 minutes. She was already in the driveway when she called. I met her at the door, the smell of butter and sage hitting me as soon as she walked in, carrying a covered dish with a floral oven mitt. "You didn't have to do all this," I said, taking it from her. The dish was warm in my hands. "I know," she replied, looking past me into the house. "Where's Andre?" "At work," I said. "He's got a late customer today." She hummed. "That job keeps him busy. You sure he's just selling cars?" She said it like a joke, but she watched my face closely. I forced a smile. "Well, if he's not," I replied. "He's hiding it real good. He comes home tired enough." Gloria walked in, her eyes doing that slow sweep they always did, taking stock. Couch cushions, coffee table, shoes by the door. "You should move that shoe rack," she said. "It's the first thing people see when they come in. Maybe that's why God hasn't brought more guests into this house." I bit the inside of my cheek. "I'll think about it." She settled herself at the kitchen table like it was hers, smoothing her skirt. "You okay?" she asked, suddenly softening. "You look worn." I shrugged, setting the cornbread down. "Long week. We were short 2 nurses. I've been covering." She tutted. "You work too hard. My son needs a wife who can give him attention, not just checklists." There it was, a little stab. "I give him attention," I said mildly. "He falls asleep on the couch half the time before the opening credits finish." She arched an eyebrow. "A man who sleeps too much at home is staying too awake somewhere else." It was such a Gloria thing to say that at first I just rolled my eyes. But that sentence stuck to the back of my mind like gum on a shoe. She stayed about an hour, gossiping about church folks, complaining about her neighbor's dog. When she finally left, the house felt bigger, quieter. I put the cornbread in the oven on low to keep it warm for dinner and sat on the couch, staring at nothing for a minute. That's when I heard Andre's phone buzz on the coffee table. He'd left it there that morning, in his rush out the door. The screen lit up with a preview of a message. From Mom. "Don't worry, we're going to get you out of this. Just stick to the plan." The plan. A cold little finger traced the length of my spine. I picked up the phone. My thumb hovered over his passcode, which I knew as well as my own birthday. For 10 years, we'd used each other's phones like spare hands. Grocery lists, GPS, "Google this for me, babe." Suddenly, that familiar code felt like a locked door I wasn't sure if I wanted to open. I put the phone back down. I told myself, if I go through his messages now, I'm accusing him. And if I don't find anything, I'm poisoning my own mind for no reason. So I made a choice that, to this day, I look back on with complicated feelings. I didn't open the phone. Instead, I picked it up, walked to our bedroom, and put it on his nightstand. Then I went back to my laundry and tried to fold away that low, humming unease. That night when Andre came home, he kissed my cheek, said, "Smells good in here, Mrs. Bennett," and headed straight to the shower. I watched him walk down the hall, his shoulders a little more tense than usual, and thought about that text. "We're going to get you out of this." Out of what? Out of *us. I told myself I was being dramatic. Gloria was always stirring something. Maybe she was talking about a work situation. Maybe Andre had complained to her about our arguments lately, the ones about him coming home late, about money, missing, about his mother always being in our business. I decided to wait, to watch, to see if this was smoke or fire. The problem with waiting, though, is that while you're deciding how hot it is, the house can already be burning. Part 2, suspicion turns to betrayal. ~1,000 words. After that first text from Gloria about getting him out of this, life didn't fall apart overnight. That's the dangerous thing. If everything shattered at once, you could at least see the mess clearly. But in my case, things unraveled quietly, stitch by stitch. Andre grew more distant in ways that were easy to excuse. He started coming home even later. "The market's crazy right now," he'd say, dropping his keys in the bowl. "If I don't stay and hustle, the new guys eat my commissions." He started showering before hugging me. That was new. For 10 years, he'd walk in, kiss my cheek or my forehead, then say, "Let me wash this day off." Now he went straight down the hall. He started sleeping closer to the edge of the bed. Not all at once. Just an inch here, a few inches there, until I realized there was a whole strip of cold mattress between us. "Are we okay?" I asked one night, lying in the dark, listening to his steady breathing. "We're fine," he replied. "You just been stressed, work, your mama's stuff, everything." There was a pause. "You know my mama worries about you too." I swallowed. "What does she say?" "That you seem unhappy," he said. "That maybe you'd be better off without all this pressure, without me always gone. She says she don't want you to resent me." Gloria, always the concerned one. Always framing things like she was saving me from her son, when I knew good and well she thought I wasn't good enough for him. I tried to brush it off. I cooked a little more. I put on lipstick even when I stayed home. I sent him flirty texts in the middle of the day like we used to do when we were engaged. The replies grew shorter. "Busy right now." "Later." Or nothing at all. One Sunday after church, Gloria cornered me near the punch bowl in the fellowship hall. "You didn't sing today," she observed, ladling bright red liquid into her cup. "Used to be you were always up in the choir." "Been picking up extra shifts," I said. "My feet aren't as saved as my heart these days." She chuckled politely, then leaned in. I caught a whiff of peppermint and perfume. "You know, some couples are better apart than together," she said softly. "God hates confusion." I frowned. "What are you saying, Gloria?" She shrugged, taking a sip. "I'm saying I've been watching you too. Lot of cold air coming off that table when y'all sit together. Andre's my baby. I can tell when he's tense. Maybe y'all need space, a reset. It doesn't have to be ugly." "Marriage isn't a bedroom arrangement you just reset," I replied. "We took vows, Gloria, remember." She patted my hand, her eyes all fake sympathy. "Sometimes the holiest thing you can do is let go," she murmured. "Pray on it." I watched her walk away, laughing a little too loudly at something a deacon said. For the first time, a thought pushed its way into my mind so clear I couldn't ignore it. She's not trying to save this marriage. She's trying to bury it. I held on like that for about another month. Then the truth stopped tapping politely and kicked the door in. It was a Thursday morning. I was in scrubs, keys in hand, about to leave for my shift when the doorbell rang. A man in a brown courier uniform stood on the porch, holding a large envelope. "Renee Bennett?" he asked. "Yes." He handed it to me, had me sign a little device, then walked back to his truck without another word. No smile, no small talk. The envelope felt heavier than it looked. I already knew, in that way your body knows before your brain catches up, that it wasn't going to be good. I sat down at the kitchen table, the same spot where I budgeted, where I'd once circled baby names in a magazine. My coffee steamed quietly beside me. I opened the envelope. At the top of the first page, in clean black letters, "Petition for dissolution of marriage ****. Andre's name, my name, 10 years reduced to paragraphs and bullet points. He cited irreconcilable differences, requested an equitable distribution of assets, asked to retain his full retirement account, suggested the house be sold and proceeds returned to the party's mother who contributed the initial down payment. The house, the only thing I had been clinging to as proof my life wasn't just air, that I had helped build something solid. My eyes moved over phrases that felt like slaps. Petitioner requests that respondent vacate the marital home within 30 days. Respondent has been emotionally distant and uncooperative. Petitioner has borne the majority of household financial responsibilities. That last one almost made me laugh. Bitter, sharp me, uncooperative him, bearing the financial weight. I thought about the evenings I'd walked into surgery overtime just to make sure the mortgage was paid. The nights I'd been too tired to stand but still cooked so he'd have a real meal after his shift. The words on the page blurred. I realized I was crying when a tear dropped onto the paper, leaving a dark spot. My phone buzzed on the table. It was a text from Gloria. "You home?" I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand, stared at the screen. A part of me wanted to ignore her. Another part of me, the part that craved answers, typed back. "Yes." She replied almost instantly. "I'm coming over. We need to talk." I didn't have the strength to tell her no. 15 minutes later, she walked in without knocking, like always. She took one look at the envelope on the table and didn't even pretend to be surprised. "So you got it," she said, setting her purse down and lowering herself into a chair. "You knew?" I asked softly. She didn't flinch. "I helped him find a lawyer," she said. "Andre, never been good with paperwork." My heart stuttered. "You helped him file for divorce, without even talking to me. You stand up in church every week and talk about keeping families together." "Sometimes keeping a family together means removing the rot," she replied smoothly. "You two haven't been happy for a long time. You know that." "Unhappiness is rot, Gloria," I said, my voice shook. "Marriage has seasons. You don't throw the whole tree away because the leaves fell off." She leaned forward, eyes hard. "Renee, look at me. You and my son are not just going through a season. He is drowning. The arguing, the tension, the lack of children." Her eyes flicked down my body like my womb was a broken appliance. Something in me hardened. "So this is about the Bobbies," I said. "It always comes back to the Bobbies." "It's about the future," she snapped. "Andre wants a family, he wants peace. You want control." Those words hit me like she'd thrown something. I sat there, stunned that she could twist everything I'd done for her son into control. Every budget, every plan, every time I'd begged him to set boundaries with her. She softened her tone then, fake gentle. "Listen," she said. "I told Andre from the start, if you're going to do this, do it clean. No cheating, no scandal, file proper, be honest." That's what he's doing. It doesn't have to be a war. "Then why does it feel like an ambush?" I whispered. She straightened her blouse. "You've got 30 days, she said, nodding toward the line on the petition. "That's generous. I told him to do it sooner, but he insisted." Charity, in her mind. As she stood to leave, she added, almost as an afterthought, "Oh, don't be surprised if you hear things. Andre has a right to celebrate his freedom. He's been under a lot." "Celebrate," I repeated blankly. "Celebrate what? Destroying his vows." She shrugged, picked up her purse. "You'll understand when you're on the other side," she said. "Sometimes divorce is deliverance." When she left, the house felt alien, like it was holding its breath. I sat there for a long minute, then picked up the petition again. I read it from top to bottom, every lie, every half-truth, every omission. Each sentence peeled back a layer of denial. That afternoon, I called into work and told them I wouldn't be in. "Everything okay?" my supervisor asked. "No," I said, "but it will be." First, I called my cousin Keisha. She's a paralegal, the same one who'd sat beside me at Aunt Brenda's when my uncle changed his will. She listened quietly, then said, "You need a shark, I got a name." The name was Miss Carter. Her office was small but neat, with degrees on the wall and a plant in the corner that actually looked alive. She shook my hand firmly, looked me straight in the eye and said, "Tell me what happened, all of it." I slid the petition across her desk. As she read, her eyebrows climbed. 10-year marriage," she murmured. "No kids, you both work. House purchased 5 years in, both names on the deed. He wants you out in 30 days and the house proceeds to go back to his mama." She looked up. "That's bold." His mother paid part of the down payment, I admitted. We covered the rest and every mortgage payment since. Ms. Carter nodded slowly. Down payment help is one thing, but this house is marital property. You've been contributing to it for years. You're entitled to equity and likely to spousal support, depending on income differences. He says I've been emotionally distant and uncooperative, I said, almost apologetically. She snorted softly. Everybody writes that, she said. Judges see through it. Right now, the question is, did your marriage struggle? Are you going to hand them everything they want just because they served you first? Something in me straightened. No, I said. It surprised me how solid it sounded. Good, she replied. Because from where I sit, they're underestimating you. They think you're going to cry, pack a bag, and leave them with the house and the story.